Welcome back, everyone, to the Frenzy Extra. Kevin Shea alongside of Jim Wilson, the assistant sports editor from the Telegram and Gazette and Home Team Magazine. And Willie, we'll look forward, we'll look back.
A lot to look at.
Big slate of games coming up this week. A couple big ones we just played a week ago. None bigger than that Leominster-Wachusett game. Wachusett coming in undefeated. Leominster coming in on a roll. The Blue Devils had kind of gotten their legs underneath them coming off that big win over Shepherd Hill. And this Leominster team is a team you and I talked about at the beginning of the year. We were not fooled by their 0-2 start. This is a very good team.
Right, we talked about it a little bit last week with that win over the loss to Lowell, but it was a close one. I mean, Lowell came in, I think, ranked third by the Boston Globe, which is in their top 20. It's a really big thing. They came in, they played tough, a couple penalties here and there, and Leominster wins that game. I mean, they were just bad field position, a couple turnovers at the wrong times, but you could tell that, especially coming off that loss to St. John's week 1, we talked about it a little bit last week, they're getting better. I thought they'd get better towards about this time. You know, 1 month in the season, Palazzi has a chance to really work with his players and make sure they're getting better. They did it really soon. The schedule they play, they're really impressive how quickly they were to right that ship. Especially when Gurley goes down, Rivera steps up for them. Really big game for him last week. I think they showed a lot.
Yeah, they certainly did. And I think they showed it in all three phases of the game, but particularly the special teams, they played well. But the offense-defense is where you look at what Leominster was able to do. Mixing the pass and the run, they do it so effectively. They gouge you on the run, so now everyone starts to come up, and then they hit you where they run 4 vertical, and they'll bring guys back, a couple curls. They find the seams. It's high percentage passes for the quarterback. They move their team up and down, and I thought Dave Palazzi showed a lot of class, too. They were up big in the third quarter, and he emptied his bench in the third quarter.
Exactly. I think they showed it was a big confidence win for them, because like we said last week, Wachusett is a really good team, too. The score doesn't indicate how good they are, because I think Leominster just had their number that day. I kind of thought, I actually picked Wachusett in that game because I thought it was a home game. Wachusett, let's be honest, they haven't won a big game to that magnitude in a couple of years. I thought that would be a nice chance for them to get a statement win against a really good Leominster team. It was in the Badlands. I think that would really just propel them into the playoffs. Because remember, after this week they have St. John's, they have a bye week, so they're going on with rest into the playoffs.
Yeah,
I think they had a chance to really make some noise last week. Leominster was ready for them, and they just took it to them.
And it was a great atmosphere. You talked about the Badlands, great atmosphere, but also maybe lost in a little bit. Wachusett had their chances, and this could have been a vastly different game. Wachusett in the first half fumbled inside the Leominster 5-yard line. They had another turnover when they were driving. So this very easily could have been a back-and-forth one-possession game, and it just shows you how every single play is important and how finishing, one turnover, 1-2 plays can completely shift the outcome of a game and the momentum of a game, and certainly that happened in this one. For Wachusett, a learning experience. Northbridge, Lunenburg.
Yes.
This was a great game. Great game. Lunenburg leading at the half. Northbridge showing that championship drive. They come back strong in the second half.
And that's what you want to see, because Northbridge for the first time was really, I thought that Auburn game obviously was going to be a tough challenge for them. They showed it really. They had their number again. And so to come in against Lunenburg, 4-0 team, looking for a little respect. It's a loss for them, but you know what? They showed a lot. I put them in my poll this week, even with the loss. I think they showed they can play with that high level, a big game mentality for Lunenburg. They showed a lot of fight in that game. It went down as a loss, but they can build a lot from this game. They showed, the coaching staff knows they can play when it'll be great. The playoffs come in, big games every week. You can't have those mistakes. They showed they can play at that kind of level.
And now you talk about big games, and we have a huge one coming up this week. It is the battle for Shrewsbury. It is St. John's and Shrewsbury. This is a game. St. John's has looked fantastic this year. And it doesn't matter who they're playing at quarterback, or it's Tim Cassidy, Shane Combs. More, it's now Cassidy at quarterback, Combs at running back. But you always have that threat. You could go straight Wildcat with Combs at quarterback, running back, or you could do the halfback option pass, regardless of who they have back there. Their offensive line is giving the quarterback time. Davon Jones finds space. Spillane finds seams in the defense. They just find ways to attack you in different styles and different ways offensively, and their defense is stifling.
Exactly. I think with old Cassidy Combs thing, you sort of knew it would shake out eventually. But like you said, that weapon is still there. And the fact that Combs really hasn't taken much under center the last couple weeks, because they didn't have to. I mean, they didn't have that game plan they drew up. I mean, they beat in the show, but really impressive win 35-0. There wasn't much cause for to deviate from their game plan and say, oh, we got to put Combs under center and shake it up a little bit. Cassie's been doing a good job. He's been growing the last couple weeks. He's a junior quarterback, getting better. learning his weapons, learning where Jones likes the ball, and those, Calvano, he knows he's getting a better rapport with his receivers. That's going to be important as the games get bigger for them to sort of hit their stride. They lost to Catholic Memorial, notwithstanding, they've looked really good in all their games this year.
And you look at the Shrewsbury team, and this is a Shrewsbury team that has come flying out of the gates, has dealt with injuries. They were in a two-quarterback battle all during the preseason. They lose one of the QBs. Jack Campanelli has played flawlessly throughout this season. They lose their running back last week, and they have to put a sophomore in there at running back, Laramie, and he has a phenomenal game against Fitchburg. And again, the games are still won or lost up front, so you got to give a lot of credit to that line.
And that line gives, like you said, gives everybody sort of that time to make decisions in the backfield, open up the hole for a running back. Abasciano goes down with a broken foot. That's fine. They put in Laramie. He's 160 yards, 2 touchdowns against a very good Fitchburg team. Don't worry about their record. They're very good. They've been in every game they've played. So I think for Shrewsbury to have a comeback win again, that's another thing I think people are misunderstanding. Shrewsbury's been behind in a lot of their games, and they've come back and really shown that fortitude, especially on their first-year coach, a lot of new players in different positions on that field. They have that fortitude. Don't panic when they're down 14-0 or 7-0 after a big play. They come back and fight, and they're in some big games against a really tough schedule.
And I think what it does, you talk about what it means to a team to come back and not panic and get that poise. It gives them confidence, too. It gives them that self-confidence that no matter what the score, they're in every game. If they get down quickly by a touchdown or 2 touchdowns, they don't fold their tent. They don't say it's just not our day. They stick with the game plan. They stick with what they've worked with all week long, what they've seen in film. I think one of the things, too, that Fitchburg team, what it does for them is Fitchburg's so quick, such a quick team. So now they just went against one of the fastest, one of the speediest, quickest teams. Now they have another team in St. John's that's so fast, so quick. Davon Jones, one of the best athletes in Central Mass. You just saw some great speed. So it's not like you're going up against a pedestrian team and then you go up against a team that's flying and you're like, whoa, this is 3 steps quicker than we're used to. They're used to that speed this week. Obviously, Davon Jones, defensively, if you're Shrewsbury, is someone you got to have 11 eyes on every time the ball is snapped.
You worry about him. I mean, he's just going to be a big weapon for them. I'm sure this week they're worried about him. Every time they go in and play St. John's, other teams will wonder where is Davon Jones lining up on both sides of the ball. They want to know where he is at all times because he can make some damage, anywhere he is. So but the problem we talked earlier, Shrewsbury, they've won the last 2 meetings. I mean, all of a sudden going up against St. John's, isn't that whole mystique is sort of it's not an unwinnable game for them. They have a lot of confidence going into this one, even with a whole new team. That class knows that going to St. John's. I don't want to say it's just another game because it's a huge talent rivalry and everything. Right. But there's not the whole chip on their shoulder going in against St. John's anymore.
Right, and it's not that back of our mind. Once one thing goes wrong, okay, this is
where it snowballs.
Yeah, we're not gonna win this game. If you're St. John's too, they can do so many things defensively with a guy like Jones. They can lock him down if it's a passing team on one receiver and take him away. They can play zone with him, and when they do that, he can cover so much space that you can send an extra 1 or 2 guys. You can blitz. You can do a lot of things defensively to be real aggressive, to take away plays or take away a team's strength, knowing that Jones can cover up if you get beat.
And St. John's, they got Wachusett and Marlboro in the regular season with, so they can't really rest this week and sort of we have a couple easy teams the next couple weeks. They got to come correct this week, next week, the week after. They can't, they know the target's on their back. They're the #1 team in our poll for a reason. Right,
and they're used to playing big games every week. I like that they got to come correct too. Old school rap reference.
School rap.
Wachusett and Shepherd Hill. Wachusett trying to bounce back after that tough loss to Leominster, and meanwhile Shepherd Hill looking to build off their bounce back win a week ago. What I see with this game, 2 very physical lines, and it's going to be both teams trying to impose their will on the other. Even though Wachusett throws the ball with Mitch Driscoll a lot more than we've used to seeing him, and he has a great arm and he has a real good touch. But still, both teams and both coaches are going to say this game's going to be won with our ground game up front. Who's going to push who?
And that's the thing. I think they had a nice game against Grafton, sort of right the ship a little bit after losing to Leominster, sort of reevaluate things and get, I don't want to say it was a bye week for them, but I mean they had a chance to sort of take a deep breath after that game and then get into their schedule. They got St. Peter Marion and Holy Name after this game. I think that so they know they're going to be tested going into the playoffs with 2 tough teams. Wachusett coming in, something to prove and show that they're better than that team that showed up against Leominster last week. And they know if Wachusett comes in here and hangs it on Shepherd Hill, nobody's talking about that Leominster game anymore, and they know that.
Right, and now moving on to Doherty and Leominster. Doherty lost the first game of the season to North Middlesex. They have been lights out since then. Jakari Carpenter just went over the 4,000-yard rushing mark for his career last week. He's such a great weapon, but I think one of the big things here is going to be Eric Vesey, the quarterback, and the play of Vesey, because I think Leominster is going to put 8, 9 guys in the box, try to take away Carpenter, and make Vesey beat him, and he can with his arm because he's very accurate and he's got good weapons.
You got guys, I think, guys like Tariq Massenberg and Dom Lee are going to be having the spotlight on this week because, like you said, it's almost like what Northbridge did against Mark Wright a couple weeks ago. Ken LaChapelle said, "Hey, Mark Wright's going to get his yardage. Just make sure they're not hurting us.
Right.
Let them drop. If Carpenter runs for a 30-yard gain on first down and it's they're the 40, that's fine. But if that's all he gets in that drive, they punt 3 plays later. It's not as damaging.
Right.
So I think with Carpenter, they know Carpenter's going to get 100 yards just by getting off the bus. So I think if they make those other people beat them, they're fine with that. If Vesey and Massenberg and Lee have a career game and they end up walking off that field with a win, Leominster will look at them and say they deserve it. That was their game plan.
And conversely, when you look at Doherty and defensively and what Steve Baccellia is going to try to do in the chess match to try to stop Noah Gray and to try to stop Eddie Rivera, who has been virtually unstoppable the last couple of weeks, Doherty will certainly have their work cut out for him defensively. But I know Steve Baccellia likes an aggressive defense, and they're going to come after Leominster. They're going to make the Blue Devils make some plays.
We talk about St. John's line and Doherty's line, even Bartlett's line. I think is better than people think. Doherty's going to be in the conversation. Their line is amazing, and I think they don't get enough credit for the job they're doing for the last couple of weeks, especially after that loss to North Middlesex, coming in and playing some tough teams, doing it well, letting those the skilled players get some time to develop and make plays open up. I think that's a big credit for them. I don't know if Leominster's going to play a line as good as this year all year.
20 seconds left. Northbridge, Bartlett, 2 unbeaten teams. How do you see this one shaking out?
You know what? Bartlett needs this win. I mean, I think Bartlett's 4-0. Nobody's talking about them. I think if they come in there, they punch Northbridge in the mouth, everybody's talking about Bartlett again. But but Northbridge,
easier said than done.
Exactly. Northbridge has seen that with Auburn.
Yep.
Northbridge like she can be
everyone's Super Bowl is
exactly.
Northbridge. You still have to stop Kobe Schofer and Jake Wood, and no one has
I don't know if they can do it
to this point. All right, he's Jim Wilson. I'm Kevin Shea. Plenty more of the Frenzy Extra coming up right after this.